Introduction of resolution.
SJR 21-017 by Senator Moreno, also Representative Escar, concerning the Colorado Day of Remembrance of the Armenian Genocide on April 26, 2021.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now I move that we suspend the rules for immediate consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 17.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the rules will be suspended for immediate consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 17. Mr.
No.
Yeah, okay. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 17 and ask that it be read at length.
Whereas this year marks the 106th anniversary of the first genocide of the 20th century, the Armenian Genocide, when 1.5 million men, women, and children of Armenian descent were victims of a brutal genocide perpetrated by the Turkish Ottoman Empire from 1915 to 1923. And whereas, as a result, there are fewer than 75,000 indigenous Armenians living within the borders of modern Turkey today. And whereas the contemporary United States ambassador to the Ottoman Empire, Henry Morgenthau Sr., stated in 1915, "Whatever crimes the most perverted instincts of the human mind can devise, and whatever refinements of persecutions and injustice the most debased imagination can conceive, become the daily misfortunes of this devoted people." And whereas the killing of Armenian people was followed by the systemic destruction of many of the world's oldest churches, cathedrals, and crossstones, as well as schools, libraries, treasures of art, and cultural monuments that continues to this day in an attempt to eliminate all traces of a noble civilization with a history of more than 3,000 years. And whereas Colorado newspapers widely reported the extermination of the Armenian people, and the Colorado communities generously raised funds to assist the survivors, known at the time as the Starving Armenians, as illustrated in the January 16, 1919 Denver Post front page story titled, "Campaign for Armenian Relief is Making Splendid Headway," and a July 30th, 1922 Denver Post front page story titled, $60 million from the U.S. keeps Armenians from extinction. And whereas, in response to the genocide at the behest of President Woodrow Wilson and the U.S. State Department, the Near East Relief Organization was founded and became the first congressionally sanctioned American philanthropic effort created exclusively to provide humanitarian assistance and rescue the Armenian nation and other Christian minorities from annihilation. And many of those rescued went on to survive, revive, and thrive outside of their general ancestral homeland, all over the world, and specifically in the state of Colorado. And whereas Near East Relief succeeded with the active participation of many Coloradans, including Governor Oliver Shoup, who concurrently served as the Colorado State Chairman for Near East Relief in delivering $117 million of assistance and saving more than 1 million refugees, including 132,000 orphans, between 1915 and 1930 by delivering food, clothing, and materials for shelter and setting up refugee camps, clinics, hospitals, and orphanage. And whereas Turkey's ongoing denial of the Armenian Genocide paved the way for another tragedy in late 2020, when Turkey-aided Azerbaijan invaded the Republic of Artsakh, a region of the Armenian homeland, in an onslaught that, despite a ceasefire announcement, continues to through this day through Azerbaijan's unwillingness to release nearly 200 Armenian prisoners of war. Forbiddance of the return of the Armenian refugees to Hedrat and other occupied regions of Artsakh, and refusal of international missions to monitor the nearly 1,500 antique and medieval Armenian cultural sites that have recently come under Azerbaijan's control. And whereas each April, Armenians throughout the world honor their martyrs and commemorate the Armenian Genocide, a term first used by Ralph Lemkin, the legal scholar who coined the word genocide and drafted the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide, explaining on CBS television in 1949 that he became interested in genocide because it happened to the Armenians and their criminals were not punished. And whereas we commend Armenians of Colorado, Inc., the Colorado Coalition for Genocide Awareness and Action, and other human rights organizations for their ongoing efforts to bring awareness and to educate the community, including our youth, about the Armenian Genocide. It is illustrated in the production of Emmy Award-winning composer Dennis Gattolini's I Am Alive musical. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the state of the 73rd General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we pause in our deliberations to commemorate the 106th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide, which will be formally recognized at a memorial service at 5 p.m. on Saturday, April 24th, 2021, at the Armenian Garden established in 1982 in the northeast quadrant on the state capitol grounds with a memorial plaque and renovated and renewed in 2015 with the addition of the Klakchar Memorial, a replica of a destroyed medieval Armenian headstone, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, hereby acknowledge April 26, 2021, and April 26 of each year thereafter as Colorado Day of Remembrance of the Armenian Genocide, and that we express support for efforts towards constructive and durable relations between the country of Armenia, the homeland for the Armenian people, and its neighbors, based upon acknowledgement of the facts and ongoing consequences of the Armenian Genocide and a fair and just and comprehensive international resolution of this crime against humanity.
Majority Leader Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Gregorio, for reading that. And members, please feel free to sit. Thank you so much for standing for that resolution. I know it's long, and I also know that the language is a bit different this year because of the current dispute right now between Armenia and Azerbaijan. The Armenian community is feeling very vulnerable because of their lost territory and access to historical sites. So I feel that it's important that we stand with them and have that conversation. But as a state legislature, I feel like we need to be cautious about getting involved in international affairs because we're not designed or equipped to really discuss those issues here on the state floor. But I didn't want to stop that from us honoring and remembering the genocide. This is personal for me. When I first was elected, the first year I served was in 2015, and that was one of the years that was the year that we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the genocide. And I didn't know much about it, I'll be honest with you. All I knew is a few years earlier, when I was working as a community organizer with the Colorado Progressive Coalition, a great dear friend of mine, Stephanie, was Armenian. And she brought up the fact that people don't know about this Armenian genocide. They don't understand what it is. They don't even know that it happened. And I was ashamed to tell her, I don't know what you're talking about. She took the time to teach me and help me understand. I shared that story here in the well in 2015. In 2019, because of sharing that story, the Armenian National Committee hosted a delegation of state legislators on a study trip to Armenia. And I was honored to have been able to go. We met with a number of government and civil society reps, and I have two pictures I'd like to put up because it connects Armenia directly back to this chamber. At the Armenian Genocide Memorial Complex, there's a whole swath of trees. These are trees that are planted. They're memorial trees planted by dignitaries who have visited Armenia and who have stopped in to visit here. You can't see the placard very well, but it talks about that this is Senator Moreno and I planting a tree on behalf of the state of Colorado, which is on behalf of you all as well. So we have a tree in the garden on behalf of Colorado to show our support for the many Armenians who lost their lives. So for me to be able to bring this tribute to the floor again, I thank you so, or not tribute, this proclamation, resolution, I'll get it right. Pregnancy brain is a real thing. I just want to thank you all so much for taking the time, not just this year, but every year to talk about the importance of what happened, to talk about the reality of what happened. And I'm so proud to say that in 2020, this body actually made sure we passed a law that helped make sure our students understand and learn about what happened. So when they're in their 20s, or I guess I should say 30s is when I learned about it, they learn about it at a younger age and have that empathy, and it can help connect the dots between the genocide that happened in Armenia and the Holocaust that happened, and making sure that those types of events never happen again. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your indulgence in listening to this and taking that space. If you are around this weekend, they will be here on the Capitol grounds on the northeast corner. If you haven't seen the amazing space that we have created over there to honor the Armenians, please take a time, sometime during your day, to stop by and take a look at that. And here in the House Gallery, we are also joined by two guests, my dear friend Simon, and we have the president of the Armenians of Colorado, Mr. Yereman, also here with us in the gallery today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Majority Leader Eskar. Madam Speaker Pro Tem Benavides and Representative Beacon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just wanted to get up and join the remarks that our Majority Leader said. But to know this isn't just a historical situation, that this happened in the last century, many years ago, and we as a body did stand up and condemn the genocide, as the Majority Leader said. But this is continuing. And we, as members of this body, have a duty to speak out against atrocities like this, against human rights violation, and yes, against genocide. We have to make it clear that we support Armenians and send a clear message to Azerbaijan and their supporters like Turkey. We have to stop making decisions in this country based only on our political interests. We have to make our voice heard when people are being slaughtered, when genocide is being undertaken right now. It is not a situation that is past. One of our former colleagues, Representative Cole Wist, whose family had Armenians in his family, was a strong supporter of this and recently wrote an editorial in the Denver Post about this and the ongoing genocide being undertaken there. So I strongly support this, and I think all of us need to demand the same from our federal colleagues, because they are considering this as well. We have to move on this. We have to speak up for these human rights violations. So I strongly support this.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you again to Simon McGuckian, who is a proud resident of Northeast Denver and House District 7. Thank you so much for sharing with us and our communities to be able to open our eyes to understand the basics to humanity, and that we are all parents, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and loved ones, and that humanity in general has a deep sense of wanting to belong. And so thank you for bringing those insights to our community. Thank you for bringing them here to the floor of Colorado, and we will do our part to support you in sharing your stories as well. Thank you.
Representative Michelson Janae and Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, as the Majority Leader mentioned, was it last year? Oh my goodness. Representative Sirota and I were fortunate enough to be able to carry the piece of legislation that will make sure that this genocide, the Armenian genocide, is taught about in our schools. We had the support of Representative Eskar, who had her own personal, or Madam Majority Leader, who had her own personal experiences and connections. And as a woman whose family was so decimated in the Holocaust, there is often a saying or the conversation, a question, if the Armenian genocide had been stopped, could the Holocaust have been stopped too? And I'm grateful for the Armenian community for always giving us the opportunity to honor and remember their loss, and hopefully to work together to stop the situation going on right now.
Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the resolution and the remarks of my colleagues, and share those feelings, and welcome to our guests today to hear the resolution being read. And I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to carry the bill to ensure that our students are educated on the Holocaust, the Armenian genocide, and to know that that is part of the ongoing work that we do, that we have resolutions to ensure that we are bringing these issues to light, but that there are many ways in which we must work to ensure that genocide does not continue in the world. And one of those important ways and ongoing work that we continue to do is to ensure that our kids are being taught, that they are developing tools to speak up, to stand out, to recognize hate and bigotry and violence in the world, and to know how and when to use their voice and their positions of power to shape the future trajectory of our world. And so I'm grateful to be a part of that ongoing effort, and I thank everyone here in the chamber who also supported that work so strongly, and know that it is ongoing and in our communities across Colorado now.
Thanks to both of you. Representative Judah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I also stand in support, and thank you, Madam Majority Leader, for bringing this. The senseless killing of anyone is wrong. It is exceptionally wrong when it is done based on ethnicity or your religion, your nationality, or the color of your skin. And standing in support with Armenian brothers and sisters is how we put an end to this kind of stuff. The reality is that when we experience a genocide, it reverberates through community and throughout our globe. And I want to personally thank Simon for highlighting how also Muslims and Muslim relics and Islamic holy sites were also affected during this atrocity, and recognizing that, again, when things like this happen, it doesn't just affect one group of people, it affects all of us as a human race. So thank you again.
Thank you, Representative Judah. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 17. Any objection to a voice vote? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 17 is adopted. Majority Leader Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that the morning roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Great. Seeing no objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors.